Thank you for coming today, and welcome to our first webinar of 2015. My name is Dave Wilkinson. It is great to be here with you this afternoon, and we're going to be doing one of my favorite things, which is basically just playing with the BrailleSense and making it do different things that sometimes people overlook in the grand scheme of things. So we were just trying to find some sort of tips and tricks that people miss sometimes so that we can try to make your lives a bit easier. Let me pull up the PowerPoint on my end, and I guess we'll get started. We'll talk a little bit about pairing with phones, but we've got a document that outlines that pretty in pretty excruciating detail, so you can always send a message to webinars@hims-inc.com, and we will be happy to send you instructions on how to pair your iPhone, Android device, Mac, PC, whatever, with any of our devices. We are going to talk about the terminal clipboard, which is a really neat way of entering text into your iDevice without some of the weird translation issues that you can run into when you're dealing with iOS devices. We're going to be talking about the built-in GPS receiver that a lot of people forget is in the BrailleSense, and we're going to play with the compass. We're going to look at some file navigation and file search shortcuts. We're going to play with the Excel viewer a little bit, and we're going to experiment with recording in Daisy, or at least show you how to get there. We will talk about macros a little bit, and I will be happy to send you some in-depth documentation on macros. I personally love macros. They let me consolidate keystrokes from a whole bunch into just one or two. We'll talk about social media for a little bit because we can't avoid it. That's what our students are doing. They're all out there on Facebook and Twitter and playing with YouTube, so we may as well join right in. Then we'll also show you how, if you want, you can lock out the aforementioned social media applications on the BrailleSense. And we'll give you, if you send us an email, and as long as we're sure that you're not a student, we'll send you a top secret document on how you can password protect it so that your students can't just go and unlock all the social applications and other things you just locked them out of. So you've got some limited parental controls that you can use. And with that, we will get underway. And we will talk about terminal clipboard. Just as a quick reminder, for pairing your iDevice with your BrailleSense, you do not set up a Bluetooth connection ahead of time on the devices. What you want to do is turn the terminal for screen reader on your BrailleSense by going to the File Manager, Utilities, and then Terminal for Screen Reader. Choose Bluetooth serial port and press Enter. And then on your iDevice, you're going to go to Settings, then General, Accessibility, VoiceOver, and under VoiceOver you would choose Braille, and your Braille device should show up. And then you'll put the pen in if a pen is needed, and if there's not a pen that's needed, you won't have to worry about it. And that's basically all you're going to have to do. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to pair my BrailleSense with my phone.
File Manager, Calculator, Bluetooth serial port, connecting, terminal mode.
And now we're going to unlock my phone. And now I'm looking at my phone, and if I turn my phone up, you'll hear the VoiceOver voice that we've all come to know and love.
Messages, 4, heading.
So here we go. And now all I need to do for this to work is I'm going to go into a message. We're going to write a text message to Michelle.
Speech on. Record audio. Message. Message.
And now,
text field is editing.
so that
message.
VoiceOver is chatty. Now all I have to do in order to use the terminal clipboard function is hit space, enter, and I, and you will hear the BrailleSense say
Accept button. Terminal clipboard.
And it says terminal clipboard. We're going to make sure our volume is all the way up. And now we're going to write a message to Michelle, and now I'm just writing in ordinary text using all of my traditional word processing commands on the BrailleSense. So we'll type hello.
Messages. Hello. Message. Text field is editing. Character mode. Michelle, message.
We'll type hello Michelle, and we'll put a new line. This webinar is going well. Hopefully with a question mark.
Hopefully.
And now to send it, all I have to do, and I haven't had to worry about any contractions, I can just use my backspace, I can do it at the top of the file,
Start.
I can go to the end of the file,
End.
I can edit this any way that I want, and then I just press Enter and S,
Start sending.
and the phone will do some babbling.
Space. Hello. Rewind. Space. This. Space. mode. Space. Space. Well.
And you heard the phone as it got the text from the BrailleSense, and now we'll just go to Send,
Send. Button.
and I did
Send
that
using
from
iMessage.
my BrailleSense, and we'll send it. And that's essentially all there is to Terminal Clipboard. What's really nice about this is you can use Terminal Clipboard for multiple lines of text. There's no real limitation on the amount of text that you can send this way. You can copy data from a file so that you could send a part of a file to someone through a text, or you could send it to their computer, or however you wanted to do it. It just eliminates a lot of, you don't have to learn all of the sort of Apple or Android mobile commands if you don't want to. For editing, you don't have to remember that, for example, space D is delete. You can just use your backspace. So you're using commands that you use every day. So we're big fans of the Terminal Clipboard. I rather like it. And now we're going to move on to our GPS. Any of you who know me very well know that I am a GPS fiend. I have multiple GPS programs on multiple platforms. Usually I have more than one running at any given time, which sometimes makes life interesting because I'm getting different information. But the BrailleSense has a built-in GPS receiver. You can also use external GPS receivers if you want, but we have a built-in GPS receiver, and we also give you access to Google Maps. So all I need to do to load my GPS program on the BrailleSense, which comes on board, is to press F1 to go to the File Manager.
File Manager.
And now from the File Manager, I could either scroll down through the different options using my scroll buttons.
Word processor. Email. Media. Organizer. Web tools. Social networking. Extras.
And I would go to Extras. Now, those of you who are advanced BrailleSense users know that we could also have just pressed X for Extra. And I'm going to press Enter.
Sense Dictionary.
And now it takes me to the Extras menu, and I'm looking for Google Maps. And logic says that I can probably just use a G to get there. I could also just scroll down through them one item at a time.
Quick share download. Google Maps.
And we come to Google Maps, and we'll press Enter. And let's see if it knows where we are.
Destination information. 1839 at the user point. At.
Let's see if it'll tell me where I am.
Position information. Louisville, Jefferson County, Kentucky.
From here, I can do a number of things. I can go into my GPS menu by just pressing Function key 2.
Search pull down.
And under the search menu, I can do things like
search for address common dialog space F.
I can look for an address.
Advanced voice search common dialog enter F.
I could look for POIs, which is the BrailleSense is pronouncing POI, so that I could look for points of interest that are in the area.
Near voice common dialog F.
And we'll look for near POIs. Let's see what's around me. And again, I'm just using the BrailleSense for this. I don't have to have any other software bought from anywhere. So we're going to press Enter.
Near voice common dialog. Category, all 143.
And I have a lot of different categories, just like you would have on your iDevices or with the Sendero product. So I can go through all these different categories.
Contractor 243, Public 343, Finance 443, Florist 543.
Florist, I might need a florist. Valentine's Day is coming up in, what, just over a month. So I've got to remember to keep the florist nearby.
Painter 643.
Painter, probably need one of those too.
Movie rental 743.
Movie rentals, this just keeps going. We're going to go back up to all.
All 143.
And we're going to press Enter. And it's going to find points of interest that are within about a quarter of a third or a mile, quarter to a third of a mile from me. As it's looking,
Asahi Restaurant 120.
It comes up with Asahi Restaurant, which is a really good Japanese place that's near here.
Big O Tires 220.
Big O Tires, they're right up on the corner.
Chenoweth Animal Hospital 420.
Chenoweth Animal Hospital, that's where we take my wife's guide dog in order to have her toenails trimmed and all that kind of good stuff to make sure that she's a pretty looking dog.
Cole's Artisan Pizza 520.
Cole's Artisan Pizza, that may need to be dinner later on. And if I wanted to create a route to any of these, all I would have to do is press Enter.
Name, Cole's Artisan Pizza. Set as start position, set as destination.
But if I wanted to create a route to it, I'd just go over to Route.
Cole's Artisan, name, Cole, set as start, set as destination. Back searching for location. Create route, common dialog. Walking 1-2.
And now I hit Enter on walking. And there we go.
Start. Louisville, Kentucky 40207, USA. Step-by-step instructions. Head northwest, 1 minute 14.
So now it's just telling me which directions to head, and this brings me to my next topic. It says head northwest. I may not know which direction northwest is, so I have a compass that I can get access to by pressing dots 5, 6, and enter.
Compass 333 northwest.
So there we go. I'm actually not doing too bad. So these are just a few of the things that you can do with your GPS. You can plan routes, you can save routes, you can create routes. You've got Google Maps, which means that your points of interest are constantly being updated. The only catch to using the GPS program on the BrailleSense is that you do have to have access to a Wi-Fi hotspot, which is a Google limitation. So you either want to have a Wi-Fi hotspot or on your phone or something like a MiFi or a Jetpack, or you want to plan out ahead of time and keep your route and store it as a file and just use it for information as you're going along. Now, a big thing that people are always asking me, I run into a lot of this in schools with students for some reason. I'd be like, I have all this stuff on my BrailleSense, but I've forgotten what folder I put it in. I have no idea where anything is anymore. How can I find my files? And I say, oh, student, this is easy. All we have to do is go to the file manager, and to get there, we're going to press function key 1, which works just like your start menu key on your computer, your left Windows key, or it's kind of like using your voiceover D, your VOD command to go to the dock on your Mac. So we're going to go to our file manager.
File manager.
And from File Manager, I'm going to press Enter.
Flash disk.
And in this case, I will choose the flash disk. I would not have to. I could choose any drive that I wanted. And I'm going to press Enter.
2015.
And it shows me my first folder, but I haven't chosen a folder. And all I have to do at this point to find a specific file is press space with dots 1, 2, 4, which is the find command.
File to find.
And since it ties into what I want to show you next, we'll look for any file on here that has an XLS extension. So we'll just type XLS and we'll press Enter.
Searching.
Let's see if we can find something.
Flash disk and stuff sales materials 911.
I've got all kinds of stuff on here. Here's a comparison of our Braille displays with other manufacturers. Go figure, right? So if I want to view that file, all I have to do for our Excel viewer at this point is just to press Enter.
Comparison Braille display.xlsx 108.5 KB 0417 2012 2015.
And it's going to load the file. All I would have to do to be able to do this anytime or from anywhere is just go to my file manager, and within the file manager point to the specific file that I wanted to open, and because it's an Excel file, it's going to automatically open using our Excel viewer. And here I can just move. So from here I can just use my dot 4 in the space bar to move from one column to the next.
A2C2 virgin cell. A3C3 company virgin cell. A4C4 dimensions. A5C5 wing virgin cell.
And you'll notice that it's saying A5 to C5, and that's because you've got A to C is merged from your top, so you've got the 3 columns down merged, the 3 rows merged, and you're moving across column by column.
C6 Bluetooth virgin cell.
And so like here's a column on Bluetooth, and then I could scale down using my scroll buttons, and I could see which Braille displays, and of course at this point virtually all of them would have Bluetooth, and I could start comparing and contrasting one Braille display with another. I have an extensive array of commands that I can use here. I can press H in the space bar, and I will get more help than I will ever possibly want.
File help.
I can go to File Help,
Edit help.
Edit Help,
Go to help.
and go to Help. We can press Enter here, and we can find out how to go to any particular column or row within the Excel worksheet.
Move to next row, space dot 4, or down scroll button. Move to previous row, space dot 1, or up scroll button.
And it just keeps going.
Move to end of row, space dot 4/6.
So we've got an awful lot of things that you can do from within the Excel worksheet. Now you cannot edit it at this point, but you can look at this Excel worksheet and you can get an awful lot done. I find this to be, well, I use this for all kinds of things, as you can tell by the sheer number of Excel files that are on here. But it's just a very convenient, nice way of being able to look at Excel spreadsheets. We do have a database manager. You can create databases on the BrailleSense, and it's something that we didn't actually cover in this webinar, that may be something we do in the future. You can make what are called CSV or comma separated values files in our database, which are also openable in Excel on other devices, or for that matter, any spreadsheet program on other devices. And this brings us down to something that we added in our last update. We're going to go ahead and close out of our Excel viewer. The BrailleSense will allow you to not only listen to DAISY material or read DAISY material, but you can also record in DAISY. And the reason that you may want to do that is that if you're recording a lecture in class, you may be recording a lecture and taking notes at the same time so that you can listen to it and read about it later on. And the good thing about the BrailleSense is that our keyboard is quiet enough that you're able to write while you're recording, and although you'll hear the key presses, it's not going to drown out the poor soul who's talking in the front of the room. If you come to a section of that class lecture where the teacher says this is going to be on the test, or this is what your homework is going to be about, and you want to be able to put a mark in there and jump specifically to that segment, well, recording in DAISY will let you do that. Or if you're preparing a text for a student, if you're reading something and you want to prepare it in DAISY, you can enter things like page breaks, phrases, headings, without having to get specialized software to do it. So in order to do this, we're going to go back to the File Manager. I always like to start with the File Manager because it gives me a starting point.
File Manager.
And now I'm going to go down to the Media Player.
Word processor, email, media.
I'm going to press Enter on Media.
Media Player.
And we're going to press Enter on Media Player. And now we are going to go into our menu, and BrailleSense users know that the Alt key, which is how you get into your menu, is going to be Function key 2.
File pull down.
Now we're going to move down to Settings.
Play pull down. Record comment dialog, Enter R. Position pull down. Mark pull down. Settings pull down.
And we're going to press Enter on Settings. I could have also just typed S to get there.
Configuration comment dialog, backspace C. Playback settings, record settings, comment dialog, backspace S.
Record Settings, and I press Enter.
Record settings dialog box. Recording type, MP3. WAV. MP3. Sample rate, 40 for recording method.
And now I tab over. I'm either recording an MP3 or WAV, and I tab twice, and I come to either DAISY recording,
normal recording,
or I can hit the space bar and go to normal recording. Normal, I guess, in this case, meaning not DAISY recording. And that is basically all there is to it. If I wanted to save my DAISY recording, now I just press Enter,
title track 1, record 0.
and it saved it. And the next time I record, and remember, you've got the convenient buttons on the front of your BrailleSense, and one of which is the record button. So all you would have to do is hit the record button, and off you would go. And that's all there is to it. However, if you wanted to build your own macro for this, you could. And all you would have to do, and again, I will send you instructions on macros. The easiest way to do your macros, the shortcut for it is Function key 2 plus R, and it will start to record a macro.
Start macro mode. Title track 1, record 01.
And now all it's doing is it's recording every keystroke that I perform. So that if I go to the Start menu, I scroll to the Media Center, Media Player, into the Media Player settings, down to Record Settings, tab over, change my settings from normal to DAISY or DAISY to normal. It's just recording all of those keystrokes. And then when I hit Function key 2 and R again,
and macro mode. File name, macro 2015-01-13-15.
And it just wants a name for the macro, and I could type in DAISY and press Enter.
Save completed.
And now I have a macro that's called DAISY. And if I want to execute that macro or make that macro work, I just hit Function key 2 and L.
Macro file, DAISY 1313.
And you'll see that I've got 13 different macros on here, the last of which is DAISY. I would press Enter, and it would do all of those steps that I just talked about for you on its own, and you wouldn't have to do it. So I'm a huge macro person. It shows my age to some extent, but I'm a huge macro person because I go all the way back to the Braille and Speak and Brailleite days. Just a few more things that we want to show you on here. We have all kinds of social media stuff on here. We have an app for Twitter. We have an app for Facebook. We've got Google Chat. We've got Google Talk. We've got YouTube on here. And just to give you a quick, this is always scary because who knows what people have posted on Facebook or whatever these days. But we're going to just go to File Manager. Everything starts with File Manager, which is function key 1.
File Manager.
And then from File Manager, I could scroll through my individual, my applications, or I could just hit C for social, which is what I'm going to do.
Twitter.
And the first one we come to is Twitter. And on Twitter, I have, for Twitter and Facebook, I have my login information saved. So if I just press enter here, it will automatically sign me in. I hope I still have my information saved on Twitter.
Home timeline.
There we go. And now I can see who all has been tweeting throughout the day.
Station. Radio station.
So I've got, here's a tweet from CNET.
Net news. AFB 1921. RT Paxton literacy. Is Braille still relevant in the high-tech world? Watch this video to find out what people who are blind have to say. And 3032.
Absolutely, Braille is still relevant. Here's a tweet from the American Foundation for the Blind. I can guarantee you that they're coming out pro Braille on that. So I could send a tweet from here. I could look at my timeline. I can look at a link if someone puts a link into a tweet. So I've got most of the features available in Twitter that I would want to be using. And again, you could do this on another device, but it's just easier here. It's a very simple interface. Now, if I want to close Twitter,
Task A, Media Player.
And we're going to go all the way back out.
File Manager.
And now we'll go.
Sense Chat. Facebook.
And again, I got to Facebook just by going to function key 1. Then I hit C for social media, or social apps, or whatever we call
Sense
it.
Chat. Social networking.
Social networking is what we call it. I have no idea. And then I'm going to go down to Facebook.
Sense Chat. Facebook.
And I'm going to press enter, and it will automatically log me in. And after it logs me in, we'll find out all the different folks, what folks have been up to on Facebook these days. So now I'm signed in, and now we can scroll through some of these.
Christopher McMillan, Disney unselectable Disney World updates for 2015. Christopher McMillan, another take for Linux admin Jody DeLillo, HTTPS.
And so I've got all kinds of posts here from folks that have been writing throughout the day, probably instead of working. And from here, I could write on someone's timeline. I could write on someone's wall. I pretty much can do anything in Facebook except for live chat, and I can't send a private message from here. I would need to have their Facebook email address to send a private message. This is our first go-round with Facebook. We are working on trying to get more features added to our app, but again, it's just, and if you wanted, you could obviously use your phone for something like this, but we just find it to be a really easy way to be able to access a lot of the more popular features of Facebook. Now we're going to exit out of Facebook, and we'll go back to File Manager.
Task name, File Manager.
We have a really cool feature for YouTube, and people are always wanting to know, why would you have YouTube? Well, just because we can't see the video, we may want the audio. So again, we're going to go to the File Manager. It's where we always start, right?
File Manager.
And from File Manager, I could scroll to the Media Center, or I could just press M. We will scroll.
Word processor, email, media.
And we'll press Enter.
Media Player.
And from here, I'm inside of the Media Center, and I'm at the Media Player. I could scroll through until I get to YouTube.
FM Radio, Daisy Player, YouTube.
And we'll press Enter on YouTube.
Top menu, search 1.8.
And the first thing I come to is search, which is what I want to do, so I'm going to press Enter.
Search.
And we'll search, this will be blatant advertising. We'll type in Blaze EZ, and we'll press Enter.
Search. Search results, 2014 Technology Persons W. The Satellites Conference. Blaze as 150. Blaze as Unboxing 250.
Blaze as, I need to correct EZ in my user dictionary so that it says EZ.
Loading.
And we'll go ahead in just a moment. We will hear the sound of a Blaze EZ turning on, which is a digital book reader. And then you will hear Jenny Axler, who works in our international office, start to talk to you about the Blaze EZ.
Blaze as Unboxing.
And this is now YouTube.
Welcome to the Blaze EZ unboxing. We know that many of you are anxiously awaiting your Blaze EZ, so we thought we'd give you a little bit of a sneak preview about what you can expect to receive, and a little bit of setup.
And that's enough of that to prove that it works. We got to hear Jenny, and we got to learn that the BrailleSense exists, and you got to see that YouTube is here, and that downloaded it. It was a several-minute video, and it downloaded it pretty quickly. Now we come to the really cool part, being able to customize your BrailleSense. And you may want to do this for a number of reasons. You may want to customize your BrailleSense just because you don't, if there are things that you use, like I never use the games on the BrailleSense. I'm not a games person, so maybe I just don't want games to ever pop up, so I can have games go away. So it's really just a matter, it's not necessarily all about just locking things out or parental controls, but you may, if you don't use things, you may just not want them to be around, the same reason that people customize their start menus. So in order to customize your BrailleSense menus as far as what programs are shown and not shown, the easiest way to get to it is to hit function key 3 and the letter M. Oops, except that I didn't go back.
Task name, menu manager.
And now the menu manager, there are 75 different things here that you can turn either on or off. And all you have to do is hit the space bar to toggle between the two.
Off.
Now we're going to turn the word processor back on because I definitely want it on.
Email on 275. Media 375.
So I could turn, now from here it says media 3 of 75, and it's going to show me all of what's in the media center.
Media player, media on 475. FM radio, media on 575.
I bet most teachers would like to eliminate the FM radio for class. If I hit the space bar, we turn it off.
Off.
And now we keep going.
Daisy player, media on 675.
So, and I can just keep doing this, going through all 75 different options, and I can choose what items I do and do not want to have available. After you have finished choosing, all you do is press enter, and it will save your options.
Setting complete. The system needs to be restarted to apply the new options.
So at this point, I would reset the BrailleSense with the little reset button in the back, and the only thing that I'd change was the FM radio, and it would eliminate it. Now there is a way to password protect this, and we do not have it documented because we really don't want students to have access to it so that they don't go around password protecting each other's BrailleSenses and just making their friends' lives difficult. But if you will send us an email to webinars@hims-inc.com, we will be more than happy to send you the information on how to password protect the items once you've locked them out. This is also really good for standardized testing. One of the things that you can lock out are things like the spell check, so that you may just want the student to be able to get into a word processing document, not be able to get to the web to look up answers, not be able to get to email so they can't email their friends. Not that your students would do such things, but someone might somewhere. So all you have to do is follow the instructions that we can send you for password protecting the customized settings on your BrailleSense. Now this is just scratching the surface of some of the things that are possible. There are lots of things that we have not gotten to. This is far from a complete recitation of all the really cool things that the BrailleSense can do, but they only give me a limited amount of time. I've already gone way over that amount of time, so I'm going to be quiet now and I will take questions.
I'm going to just voice them out loud so that everyone can hear. Our next question, Dave, is from Amy, and she wants to know, why can't math worksheets given in the non-calculator mode not use math symbols?
Let me make sure that I understand the question. If you do a math worksheet and if you are writing it in Word, and if you use the math symbols section of Word, and if you save that file as an RTF or a rich text format, the BrailleSense U2 should open it and show the results in Nemeth correctly. If that is not happening, there are a couple of possibilities. We want to make sure that you're running version 8.2 of our firmware. We want to make sure that you're using a BrailleSense U2 instead of a BrailleSense Plus. And if both of those are the case, then we need to dig a bit deeper to find out why it's not working the way that it should be. But if you want to use Microsoft Word and the math symbols that are within Word, and if you save it as an RTF or rich text formatted file, it should open in Nemeth correctly on the BrailleSense. The student can also respond in Nemeth. The BrailleSense, it's worth noting, was the first note taker to support Nemeth in the calculator, and then we also added Nemeth features to our word processor. I guess it was mid-year last year, beginning of last year, somewhere in there, and that it goes all the way up to being able to print. If you take our documents that are created, unlike other devices, you can move our Nemeth documents over to another device like a computer, and it prints out like normal math.
Okay, so it says the fifth graders were not so excited about Excel, but it looks like the high schoolers were. So feedback there for you.
I can see that.
And then we have several Wi-Fi questions. There was a little bit of a dialogue going on, so I'll try to summarize for you, Dave. Karen said that she is having a difficult time connecting to Wi-Fi because of the wrong network card. How do we connect if the BrailleSense can't find the network in school? The tech person has updated all the Wi-Fi in the school, but says that there's something wrong with the network card.
There are a couple of answers to this. It will be much easier probably if we discuss some Wi-Fi issues offline when you're at your school, when we can look for the Wi-Fi network. There's a section that's called Add a Network, and you can physically write in at that point the name of the network, the SSID, the MAC address, everything that would be associated with that network, so that if there's any type of hiding going on from the network administrator's part, or if there are parts of the network that aren't visible, you can tell the BrailleSense what to look for, and it still doesn't have to be visible. We've been able to get Wi-Fi working a lot of times in schools when the tech guys who, and this is not meant to be derogatory towards the tech guys, but they simply really don't know the equipment here, and they don't understand what the possibilities are. And so we've been able to work around that and say, hey, this will work after all. We've just got to get you to think a little bit broader.
And if anyone has specific questions about their network, you can always email support@hims-inc.com, or you can email Dave at webinars@hims-inc.com. And either way, we'll put you in touch with someone who can help. A more direct question for you, Dave, or a more general question. Our district requires a login and password to connect to the Wi-Fi. Other devices have been hard to connect with this because we can't connect that way. Is connecting to the Wi-Fi possible when it's password protected? So I know that's possible, Dave. Do you want to explain quickly how you do that?
It should be possible. First of all, there are a couple of things. One, usually when Wi-Fi networks are password protected, the IT guys usually have a way around it. There's usually a backdoor way that you can go in. There's a hidden network somewhere that they can put you in touch with if per chance this doesn't work. If you're an IT guy listening, sorry about that, but it's true. Second of all, if they have password protection, if what you mean by password protection is something like an enterprise network where you're going out to a website and then entering the password, you would connect to the Wi-Fi network and then go into our web browser. You would load the web page that would automatically come up, which is probably the school's login page. And then you would jump to the first form element. The hotkey for that is space dots 13456. You can think of it as sort of a half of a box. And it would take you probably to the username dialog box. You would type in a username, jump to the next form element, again with space 13456, and go to password and press enter. That will work about 98% of the time. If they've done something really squirrely with the network and it's not working, give us a call. But I've got lots of folks that are logging on to networks. Actually, I log on to networks that are password protected most of the time. When I travel, that's how a lot of networks are set up in hotels. So I end up doing this quite a lot. So I can guarantee you that it works.
And Neil also asked if there are any plans for a wireless display that can be seen on a phone or a smart device.
I think I know what you're talking about, something where you'd be actually able to use a smart device as a visual display for your BrailleSense. I am assuming that's what you're talking about. We have looked at that. Here's what it comes down to. If it is vital to have something like this, we can do it. The decisions that we all have to make as AT companies is how important is this feature to you? We can do it. It's not that hard to do. But if we do it, it delays something else being done. So I guess not to turn the question back around, but I need to know how important is this for you? And if enough people think it's vital, then I can pretty much guarantee you it'll happen.
While we are waiting for those questions to come through, the next slide here has some information about our next webinar. It will be on Tuesday, February 10th, and the topic will be eBot for schools. We'll be going over tips for reducing teacher prep and accommodations frustrations. So if you'd like to register for that webinar, you can go to our website at www.hims-inc.com/webinars. And all of our upcoming webinars will be listed there as we think them up.
I'd also like to remind you that if you're going to be at a lot of the upcoming shows, whether it's ATIA or CSUN, a number of the local AERs around the country, or the California Educators and Transcribers Conference, or a number of other conferences, be on the lookout for HIMSS or our local HIMSS representatives. There's a very good chance that you'll see us there.
There are a few more questions that came through. And Diana wants to know, are you able to add daisy tags to a pre-recorded file?
If the file is already created, I can't go back in and add daisy tags to it. No. That'd be pretty cool.
Sally wants to know, a lot of my students' teachers want to have the Braille display connected to a monitor so that they can see what the student is typing.
That's doable. There's a VGA port in the back of the BrailleSense. You can plug it into any monitor. If your monitor doesn't have a VGA port, you can get an HDMI to VGA converter. In the options menu on the BrailleSense, you go to video on off, and you would turn video on. The shortcut for that is, I believe it's just you hit V. What I did was hit F to flip the screen, and then I just hit down arrow a couple times. I got to video display on or off, and it's just a toggle. And if that's turned on, you will see the results on a monitor.
So Colleen is the one that asked that question, and then she also said if there's an app to view it, that is helpful when viewing the information on the BrailleSense is just needed on the fly.
Okay, so in other words, what you're saying is you would like to have an app for a mobile device?
Colleen says
okay.
Yes.
For any suggestions like that, because we've had, that's also what Neil was talking about earlier, send me an email. What helps us out tremendously is if I have an email from you that I can send to our engineers and say, hey, look, the customers want this. It carries a lot more weight than if just Dave wants it.
Jen, who I believe was watching the webinar from school, said, last period is about to start. Thank you so much for all the great info. Talk to you all soon.
Get to your next class.
Neil says, thanks for answering the questions. The students who are on a BrailleNote device, which can be displayed on a wireless device, have found it very helpful for sighted teachers and note-taker interactions as far as editing or help with real-time work being done.
And I'm taking it from this that we need to probably start working on an app that we can put onto iDevices. Keep in mind that you do have a built-in screen on your BrailleSense that you can use. Until then, the screen can be turned on by going into your options menu with space plus O, and then you go to LCD and turn it on, and you press enter. You can also flip the text so that the text will be facing out towards the teacher and not towards the student, so that it's not as complete as a bigger screen, but it's at least a couple of lines of text.
And we have 2 more people typing in. Neil said, any idea on when the next big software update is coming?
I have a really good idea, and I can't tell you. There will be some exciting things happening this year, and that's as far as I can go.
The people who receive the first notification on all of our updates are the people who are subscribed to our email newsletter. And if you go to our homepage, there's a set of rotating banners there. One of them is a link to sign up for our email news group, and those are usually the first people to find out. It looks like this has been a good group. It's been interesting to have HIMSS product users on the line and to see what all of their questions have been.
It has. This has been really interactive.
Christine wants to know, does HIMSS put out a newsletter? The answer to that is no. We've talked about it. We do send emails out to our list group whenever we have a big announcement to make, whenever we do a press release or we have a hardware update or a software update, and we'll email usually 2 or 3 times a month. Marilyn wrote, When will the BrailleSense use UEB symbols in computer Braille mode?
Computer Braille and UEB are two technically different codes, so I'm not sure if I have the knowledge to answer that. We support UEB now. It's one of our tables that are supported. Computer Braille is a little bit different in that it was designed back in the early 80s to be one symbol, one symbol, one thing, so you wouldn't have things like dots 2, 5, 6 being a 4 sometimes and a period sometimes. So I'm not sure specifically what you're looking for there, other than we've supported UEB for some time.
Pat wants to know, or she says, I read once that you could connect a USB 3G modem to the BrailleSense U2 QWERTY. Which one can I use?
It's not available anymore. It's the short answer. It was a short-lived product that went away.
I think, if I'm correct, though, that was for adding internet access on the fly, right? Could you use the hotspot on your iPhone or on your Android phone?
Use a hotspot or something like that. It was a product that was being offered by Verizon that wasn't offered for very long, that we supported, and then it went away, and so we don't support it since it doesn't exist. Well, thank you all very much. I thoroughly enjoy doing these. Please send your ideas, otherwise you get stuck with whatever we dream up. So save yourselves and send us suggestions. But we look forward to doing a lot of this throughout the year.
Dave, I think it's safe to close the webinar out if you want to do that now, and we'll get it wrapped up.
All right, we'll do it. Well, thanks to everyone, and Happy New Year, and we'll do it again soon. We'll see you at ATIA and CSUN or somewhere on the road.